All this was incomprehensible to him from the very beginning. 11 years ago, Edward finished his university studies and returned to his hometown. Since he had studied at his own expense, he had no distribution. He got the right of free employment and managed to find a decent high-paying job. In the course of building a successful career, he often had to travel to the regional center, where he once met his fellow student Kevin. They were not close friends, but nevertheless, always had a good relationship. And then Kevin gave Edward a shoulder to lean on, and approvals that had taken weeks were obtained in one day. Kevin was already the CEO of the company founded by his wife Gloria's parents. It was then, at a friendly party at Kevin's house, that he met his future wife, Eva. Eva was finishing up her university studies and living with her retired parents downtown. Somehow it happened that they started dating. It was a heated encounter, and after 6 months, realizing that Eva was pregnant, he proposed to her. She said yes, on the condition that he would move to live in the regional center. Edward agreed, and they had a wedding, where Kevin and his wife Gloria were present. Eva's parents made them a royal gift. They gave them a 3-room apartment, left to them as an inheritance from her mother-in-law's sister. The gift was registered in Eva's name. A son was born, and soon Eva became pregnant again and gave birth to a daughter. Edward got a job, on the advice of Kevin, in a very solid organization, having passed a decent competition. There he quickly established himself as a knowledgeable specialist. It is clear that as a result, the company headed by Kevin had priority in the selection of contractors for the construction of facilities, especially when Edward represented the customer. Work was boiling and earnings were excellent. Eva, after her daughter started kindergarten, also got a job at Kevin's company. 10 years flew by. This year their son will go to the 4th grade and their daughter will go to the 2nd grade. 2 weeks ago, Edward sat in a conference room at the hotel. The negotiations were tough and they were dragging on, so they called a break. Edward went out with one of the representatives, who had come from the capital, to the balcony of the conference room and sat down at a table there. The representative, looking at the hotel visitors in the lobby, remarked, "Here, so many years have passed, and Kevin is still in love with her and married, but the old habit does not die." Kevin who? He's at the reception desk checking out a room, and his girlfriend is standing by the kiosk. Edward looked and saw that Kevin was at the front desk and his wife Eva was at the kiosk. Kevin finished checking out, and he and Eva walked to the elevator. My first impulse was to find them and punch Kevin in the face. Only, what would that accomplish? A breakdown in negotiations, a fight in a public place, divorce. And then there was the sound of all the years that had passed. Edward turned to the person he was talking to. "How long have you known him?" "A long time. I'm a native of this town. Lived here." And Kevin, after college, met his present wife, Gloria. "I think. She's from a wealthy family. Her father was an entrepreneur, founded several businesses with his wife. Kevin married Gloria and immediately became CEO of one company. But I don't do business with him. He's unreliable. You can't trust him." The negotiations were over. The contracts were signed. Edward returned to the office, went to his study, and began to think about what he should do next. It was clear that he had to part with his wife, but the children. He had to make sure he was their father. He has to prepare a place to live after the divorce. The apartment they live in was given to them by Eva's parents, which has a deed of gift to the wife. So the best thing to do is to go back home. The parents have a house, God willing, with 2 floors. They only use the first floor. Eva has never been to his homeland, saying, "What will I do in your village?" The departure itself decided to organize simply, packed up and left, especially since he promised his children this year to take them to the sea, and he didn't want to deceive them. So he made a plan and started to realize it. He knew a lot about Kevin and his wife's habits. He knew that Gloria went to a cafe away from the offices at lunchtime, believed that the food there was better, and repeatedly invited him and Eva to dine there. Now it was clear why Eva did not go there, and Kevin did not go there either. The next day, Edward entered the cafe and immediately saw Gloria and sat down at her table. "Hi, Edward, hello. Are you trying the local cuisine? You know, you won't regret it. I didn't just decide to try the local food." "Oh, I see, Kevin." "Yeah, Kevin. And with who?" "My wife, Eva." "Are you sure about that?" "Pretty sure. You know, I suspected him for a long time, but I couldn't prove it. He's always home on time." "Where did you catch them?" "At a hotel downtown. He's got a buddy who's a director there." "How long have they been dating?" "As I found out, they started dating before I met Eva. He married you because of your parents' money." "What a bastard. When we met, he said he didn't know who my parents were. He introduced Eva to me as a friend of yours." "My friend? I met her at your house." "What about the kids?" "I took a DNA test just in case." "How'd it turn out?" "Well, it's not immediate, but they said they'd get it done sooner." "If it's about Kevin, you shouldn't have. He's infertile. He's been treated, but he's had 0 results. That's why I haven't had a baby yet. I'd like to have kids." "Okay, what are your plans?" "What's my plan?" "Divorce and my maiden name." "I'll divorce him too, but he'll have to pay for humiliating me and making me a laughingstock. But I need hard evidence, not words." "Do you think if I go away on a business trip, you'll also go somewhere where they'll meet?" "Probably at my cottage." "That's what I was thinking. What if we put up webcams and watch them meet in real time? Then at the time of the meeting, you could drop in on them with, say, your parents." "Could you?" "I have it more complicated than that. I want to pick up my kids and take them away." "Where to?" "To the sea for starters, say, in Turkey or somewhere in Spain, Italy." "Listen, I have a friend who works in a travel agency. I'll ask her to find something." "It's a deal. When can I call you?" "Anytime. But I'm also thinking that I have to go home. Since Eva owns the apartment, I won't be living there." "Will she kick you out?" "I don't know, but I'll take the kids, take a vacation with them, and go to my town. It's not far. I'll decide about the job after the vacation, as long as I have a place to live. Listen, my dad's planning to open a branch there in the fall. I'll talk to him, if you don't mind. I'd be glad to have any help I can get. Now, set a date. I'll call you. But remember, you have to install the webcams discreetly." "Don't worry, I have experts for that." Edward spent all these days preparing for his upcoming separation from his wife. He stopped by the school and told them that they were planning to move and were therefore transferring the children to another school in another city. They demanded confirmation of the children's enrollment in another school. I had to go to my district center during working hours and bring the confirmation. The documents were handed over. Gloria called and said that there was a trip to Italy, the city of Pizarro. She asked me to bring passports to open visas. The visas were opened quickly. Soon Gloria told me that she had talked to her father about Edward and his appointment at the branch. He did a background check and gave his approval and asked her to come in for an interview. After talking to Gloria's father, where arrangements were made for his position and salary, Edward came to his principal and told him what had happened. The man, who had been divorced twice before, inquired, "What can I do to help?" "I need to quietly go on vacation with subsequent dismissal. Look, is there any way we can work this out?" "No, it won't. Besides, I've been offered a job. I've got a lot of work lined up. I think I'll involve your company in their fulfillment." The general director, after some deliberation, gave his consent. The preparations for parting were finalized. Edward told Eva about the forthcoming business trip, only for 3 or 4 days. Eva on the same day informed about the departure of her husband Kevin. He rejoiced, he said. "At last we'll have a human vacation. My old lady went to a sanatorium for 2 weeks. Your husband's going away for a while. But that's okay. Where will you take the kids?" "I'll take them to my parents. It's vacation time. They can't stay at home. I don't understand why I had a baby. Is it just up to me? Besides, it was your idea to marry me off to Edward. And maybe your son could be yours, and your daughter too. No, I can't have children, and I'm glad of it. Children are a responsibility, and I'm a little different in that respect. So you should get a nanny, or like me. I put everything on my husband, he takes care of them. And when my husband can't take care of them, I give them to my old people. Too bad Edward's parents live far away. Well, what are we planning for tomorrow? What's tomorrow? Edward's leaving in the morning. We're going to my place after work. Can I stop by my house? What are you gonna do there? Bring a nightie in your bag in the morning. You won't need it. No one comes to our place. Grab some lipstick and eyeshadow. I always have my makeup bag with me. That's great. We're not going to the hotel tonight. I'm afraid I'll be seen there. Yes, it's too risky in the city center. We could get burned. The next day, in the morning, Edward packed his traveling bag and said goodbye to Eva and drove to the train station. Although, in fact, he just got on the shuttle bus, drove one stop, and got off. The car he had hired for long-distance transportation with movers was waiting for him there. They drove up to the yard of his house and saw Eva take the children out and get into the cab with them. She was taking them to her parents' house. There was no conversation about it, though. Half an hour later, Eva arrived at her mother's house, saying, "Mom, I brought you your grandchildren. They missed you. When will you take them to the sea? Mia, you look so pale. Ben needs a tan too. Let them sunbathe in your garden. I'll call you every night." Eva got into the cab waiting for her and went to work. At the same time, Edward was packing up the house, putting it into the cardboard boxes she had brought. The boxes were immediately carried into the car. Within an hour and a half, everything was packed and loaded. Only a large wheeled suitcase and 2 bags were packed separately. After Edward finished packing the car and immediately called his father, "Dad, the car with the stuff has gone to your place. The movers will be there. Don't carry anything yourself. I will come to you and the kids in a month, at the end of August. Yes, with movers and transportation, all paid for. They have your phone number. Eva will call and ask how and what's going on. You don't know anything." "All right. Son, I'll meet the car." "And Eva, she won't call. She never has. I told you 10 years ago that she's promiscuous, and you didn't believe me." "That's right, Father. Today is the 10th anniversary of our wedding. I remember that. So I got her a present." Eva came to work, went to the CEO's office when he was alone, and said, "Edward is away. The kids are at my grandparents'. So I'm free until Monday." "Excellent. We'll leave an hour early." Okay. After working most of the day, an hour before she finished, Eva wrote in the leaving book that she was going to a meeting with a customer. She left the office and turned down an alley. After another 3 minutes, Kevin came out of the office. Not reporting to anyone, he told the secretary, "I'm going to a meeting. I won't be in today." He came out, got into his car, and drove off. Gloria, who had installed a beacon and a microphone in the car, became aware of the fact that the car had started to move around the city. She saw the car turn into an alley and stop. The door slammed, and there was an immediate sound. Eva asked, "Don't we need to go to the store?" "No, we don't. We have everything at home." About that time, Edward came by to see his mother-in-law and father-in-law and said, "Good evening. I'm going to get my tomboys." "Oh boy." Eva said it would be 3 or 4 days. "So today is a celebration. We're 10 years together. The kids and I have a surprise for her. So if she calls, don't say anything. She'll be home in half an hour." "That's right. It's been 10 years. We forgot." 10 minutes later, Edward and the kids were on their way to the airport. The flight was 2 hours away. Eva went into Kevin's kitchen, looked in the refrigerator, and leisurely set a solid table. She asked, "Kevin, champagne semi-dry open, but no shooting." Maybe some cognac? No, cognac would be too strong at the beginning of the evening. Come on, we'll drink it later. What are we drinking to? Listen, you and I haven't seen each other since our daughter was born. We missed a lot of time. Whose fault is that? You're the one who had an affair with the client's lawyer. Eva, what kind of affair? Well, we talked to her a little bit. You were at home with your daughter. Besides, your husband could have dropped by. And with the lawyer, there was nothing to stop you. I broke up with her. Or did she break up with you? Her husband caught her at work with her lover. So what? Well, the husband went to jail. He beat up the lover so badly that he was nearly resuscitated. So she didn't have you alone. Well, you didn't have me alone either. And who else do you think I have? Your husband. They sat down to eat dinner. Eva collected the dishes and put them in the sink. Then they went upstairs to the bedroom. It was about 7:00 p.m. Eva covered the coffee table with fruit, on which she put the cognac she had brought from the kitchen, cognac glasses, and went into the shower. She came out of there about 10 minutes later, wrapped in a large terry cloth towel. Kevin clucked his tongue enthusiastically at her beautiful figure and went into the shower as well. When he came out, Eva asked, "I'll talk to my old men now, and I'll be all yours. In the meantime, be quiet." She dialed her mother's number, who answered not immediately. "Hello, daughter. Edward surprise you." "Mom, what surprise?" "Well, it's your 10th wedding anniversary. He took the kids and went to surprise you with them." "What time was it?" "About 5 o'clock." "I see. I'll call you back." Eva jumped up, pushed Kevin away, and dialed her husband's number. "Speaking. It's me. How's the business trip going?" "It's fine. I congratulate you on our 10th wedding anniversary. Did your mom remind you?" "Why did you say that?" "Because you're standing in Kevin's bedroom, not quite dressed, and he's sitting there looking at you, waiting for you to finish talking to me. He looks at you like a faithful dog." "Edward, what are you talking about?" "I'm just saying what I have. You've never loved me. Kevin told you to get into bed with me, so you did. He told you to get married, so you did. Edward, I'll come over and we'll talk. I believe you will understand me. Don't go away. Don't leave me." Eva burst into tears. Kevin looked at her questioningly, not realizing what was happening. At that time, the bedroom door opened and Gloria's parents walked in. Walking behind them was Gloria. Eva yelped and frantically grabbed her clothes and began to dress. Gloria's father, Viktor Viktorovich, looking at his son-in-law and more at the naked Eva, asked, "Kevin, what's going on here?" "Dad, nothing is going on. It's just that Kevin has had enough." Gloria's mother appreciated her son-in-law's nakedness and remarked, "Gloria, what do you see in him?" "There's nothing to look at. Mom, that's why I'm throwing him out of my life." And then, turning to her husband, she added, "Kevin, do you understand? You have until morning to vacate my house. I think Daddy will tell you about the job." "Tell me what?" "Dear son-in-law, you're writing a statement, and we're splitting up. Eva, you stay for now, but with a demotion. And for that, thank your husband. But be warned, if you slip up again, you will be fired." Eva, who had finished dressing, muttered, "Thank you," and clarified, "Can I go now?" "Yes, of course. No one's keeping you here. Goodbye." Eva jumped out of the cottage and ran to the bus stop. She got into a cab and was home in about 30 minutes. She went up to her apartment, opened the door, entered the apartment and realized that no one was home. She started to call her husband, but the phone was out of range. Edward had almost finished watching what was happening in the bedroom. Turning off the tablet, he called Gloria back. "Gloria, thank you so much, but I can't talk long. Going with the kids to boarding. I hope to hear from you when we get back." "You don't have to thank me. Thank you. And my father is waiting for your arrival." We got on the plane, and a few hours later we were in Moscow. The flights were perfectly connected, and soon they were on a big plane to Italy. The flight was a night flight, and mostly everyone in the cabin was asleep. But soon it started to get light. The passengers were offered breakfast and drinks. We landed at Rimini Airport. After a short wandering, we figured out how to get to Pesaro. It turned out to be close, only 37 kilometers. Here they were found by a representative of the company that carried out transportation of tourists from the airport to the hotel. In a small minibus were already sitting other tourists who were also going to Pesaro. Another hour drive, and they were finally accommodated at the Embassy Pesaro Hotel. The hotel is located on the first coastline. As soon as they checked in, the kids wanted to go to the sea, which was visible from the window. They went downstairs and met another woman who had come on the same flight with them, with her daughter of 7 years old. The woman got seasick on the plane, but her little motor demanded the sea. Edward suggested, "Trust your daughter to us. I will take all the children to the sea, and you have a rest." "Thank you very much, but I'm not leaving her alone." "Then let's go together." "Let's go together. But I don't see where to go. I can see the sea out the window, but I don't know where to go." "We'll find it. By the way, my name is Edward, and these are my children, Ben and Mia." "Who are you?" "I'm Mia, and this is my daughter Emily." It didn't take long. We found the passage and followed the wooden ladders almost to the water. There in the shallow water, a flock of small fish were scurrying about. Edward managed to catch a small crab. The crabs, sensing danger, immediately burrowed into the sand and used the rising murk to hide from pursuit. Edward took off his shorts and shirt and went swimming with the children, taking Masha's daughter with him. He called Masha herself. She thought for a moment, then took off her sundress and went into the warm water of the Adriatic Sea. At this time, Kevin was solving the problem of where to live. In the end, with the help of his parents, he found himself a lodger in a one-room apartment. Trying to get a job did not lead to anything. He had a cash reserve and he could hold out, but he had to think about tomorrow. So he started looking for a job, going around offices, but strangely enough, no one wanted to cooperate with him. All the vacancies of executive positions were filled by their own specialists, and he himself did not want to go to a rank-and-file position. As a result, soon he could not get a job as an ordinary engineer. Eva dashed around the city for 2 days, but was unable to find Edward and the children. Contrary to the belief of Edward's father, she did call them. The parents explained that yes, Edward had moved his belongings in with them and had gone somewhere else. He had not brought the children. After some thought, Eva decided that he had gone on vacation. Just in case, she stopped by Edward's office on her first day of work. There she learned that he had quit. In the evening, after work, she called Kevin and asked him, "What's up? How's it going in there?" "Not good." "What's wrong?" "I rented a one-room apartment with only a cot, but there's one table and one chair. The stove, only one burner works. There's no utensils, I had to buy some. But I don't even know how to cook. And there's a problem with jobs. I've called around and found out nobody wants me. What about you?" "I'm still working, but I've been transferred to another department. I don't have to go anywhere during office hours, and it's mostly minor paperwork." "Who's in my place?" "The chief engineer performs the duties. Besides, they've announced that a branch office will be established in a month." "Yes, my father-in-law said something like that a month ago." "What did Edward tell you?" "Nothing. He took the kids and left. Where to, I don't know. But he took his stuff and the kids' stuff to his parents' house. My parents found out about the divorce too, and they're in a trance. My dad won't talk to me." "So you live alone?" "Yeah, I'm living alone for now. I'm thinking maybe we should get back together." "I don't think that's a good idea. That would have been attractive to me 10 years ago. Even though you were my first lover, Edward was the best. Besides, you're cheating on your wife. So why did you go out with me?" "I was stupid. I didn't realize I should have left you immediately after you betrayed me in the name of your career or later, after you betrayed me again by forcing me to marry Edward. But I lived with him, and I realized he's the real deal. So I'm sorry. I'm not living with you, and I'm not inviting you over. We should have broken up a long time ago. I was stupid not to realize that. So what now? I'm gonna get my husband and kids back. How? I don't know yet. But without them, my life is empty. I don't think you can do that. If it was just a one-time thing. We've been going out intermittently for 10 years. Well, not 10 years. When I had my baby, we took a long break, and then I had another baby, and then we took a break again. In the purest form, maybe 3 years we dated. For someone like Edward, once is enough. What do you think you're gonna do? Make up with your wife? No, I'm not even gonna try. Why not? My health is more important to me. And I'm wondering if Edward's got a beef with Gloria. What makes you think that? I mean, they're so in sync. I wouldn't be surprised if your hubby and your kids are living in a cottage with Gloria. I hadn't thought of that. I doubt it, but I'll have to check it out. Edward and the children were having a great time, and Masha and her daughter Emily joined them. She gradually recovered from the flight, but said, "It wasn't the flight that did it to me at all. I ate something at the airport while waiting for the plane. But I'm feeling good now." How's Emily? She didn't get nauseous. No, she got through the trip really well. That's good. We'll have breakfast in the morning, and then we'll go to the beach. As soon as the sun starts to shine, we'll go to the hotel. We have lunch. Then when the sun calms down, we go to the beach again. In the evening, we go for a walk along the promenade. Are you okay with that? A vacation schedule like that? No. Our schedule will vary, but it will depend on the children. Yes, our hotel has a freshwater pool in the courtyard, and that's where it gets tricky. From the sea came in the salt water, bathed in the pool, swam with fresh water, and do not need to shower. Okay, let's try it. But I'd also like to see the city. Do you have to stay in your room after dinner? They call it siesta. It lasts from 13.00 to 15.00, sometimes till 16.00. During this time, stores, pharmacies, offices, organizations, banks are closed. True, bars, restaurants, cafes, supermarkets are open. Lightly dressed, you can go for a walk. And I suggest that in the evening we go for a walk on the embankment. It's a deal. That day, Eva gathered courage and in the evening arrived at the cottage where Gloria was staying. Gloria opened the door. When she saw Eva, she silently stood aside to let her into the cottage. They walked into the large hall on the first floor. Gloria pointed her to a soft couch and seated herself opposite. She said, "I'm listening. I've come to apologize for what happened, and I ask you to understand me. Don't think I'm so stupid. Ask better, why do you still work for us? Because I understand you were dating Kevin before me, so I'm the one who took him away from you. But I really didn't know anything about your relationship, so he cheated on you too. I fell for it like a fool. And even though I've known him for a long time, we didn't really see each other very often. And he kept saying he was going to divorce you. I believed him. But then I realized he wouldn't accept my kids. Although today, I don't know who they're with. Don't worry. Your children are your husband's. Kevin really can't have kids, and he doesn't want them. By the way, he's single now. What's stopping you two from getting back together?" "No, I realized I don't need him as a man or a husband. He called me. When he heard I was alone, he asked me to take him in, but I refused. I also came because I can't find Edward and the kids. He's not at his parents', although he moved his things there. I know he's gone on vacation with the kids to the sea. I don't know when he'll be back. By September 1st, I think. The kids have school. I don't know what to do, how to get Edward back. I can't help you with that. I don't think it's possible to get Edward back today. He won't forgive." Edward and the children, Masha and her daughter Emily, left the hotel. They walked to the center of Pizarro. The children, after a brief briefing by Edward, Having understood the direction of travel, went ahead. Masha asked. Edward, was such a detailed briefing necessary? Of course, Masha. You understand, in the city where we lived, they know about the existence of bicycle lanes. But in reality, there are no bicycle lanes. That means we're just not used to the fact that a pedestrian zone is one thing, a bicycle zone is another. And then, of course, the road where transportation moves. Note, cyclists don't ride in the pedestrian zone, even if no one is there. Locals never move in bike lanes. They walked leisurely through the evening city, came to the Sphere Monument. Edward, what is this monument? It's the Sphere Grande di Pomodoro. It doesn't look like a tomato. That's the Sphere Grande, but the author of the monument is Arnaldo Pomodoro from Pizarro. In general, in Pizarro there are good sandy beaches, clean sea, beautiful promenade with a pier going far into the sea, all opportunities for a pleasant walk and contemplation of the water surface. Tomorrow I propose to go to the historical center with a town square, surrounded by palaces, a beautiful fountain. Walk through the narrow streets of the city, visit local restaurants, stores, admire the beautiful villas. Wow, I didn't realize that this city is so famous. Italy is a very old country. How do you know everything? Are you a history teacher? Me? No, I'm not a history teacher. When they told me where I was going, I looked up places I might be visiting on the internet. I learned a little bit about the country. I didn't really think about it. I could have avoided a lot of misunderstandings. What do you think about going to the Lenavi Aquarium? Is that around here? Not really, it's in Cattolica. It's not far, only 22 kilometers. We can get there in half an hour. Okay, how early do you want to get up? Tomorrow we'll sleep later, as we have the Rossini Theater and a walk through the Old Town coming up. The day after tomorrow, we get up at 7 o'clock am. Well, we didn't come here to sleep. We'll have breakfast on the go. I'm in charge of the route. So, where to now? There's a restaurant. Let's sit down and have a bite to eat. We just had dinner. We'll take only the good stuff. They went to an open-air restaurant. The waiter gave them a menu. They were served quickly enough. Edward talked to the waiter about something, pointing to the menu and pointing at the children. The order came quickly. Edward and Masha took small sips of dry Italian wine, and the children began to taste the original seafood salad. Edward inquired, "Tell me, Masha, how did your husband let you go to a distant country with such a small daughter?" Masha smiled sadly and answered, "You know, Edward, I am not married. No, everything was like in a fairy tale. I was finishing my studies at the university when the prince appeared. He was also studying at our university. Somehow we ended up living together. Emily was born. We lived in his apartment. We didn't register our relationship. After Katya was born, he got cold to me, started going out. He wouldn't come home for weeks at a time. When I told him about it, he said, 'You're not my wife to teach me.' And then he brought a woman home. I found an apartment and moved out with my daughter. Now I think I should move back to my mother's neighborhood. Doesn't he help you with your daughter?" "No, he doesn't show any interest. Funny thing is, Emily's birth certificate has a dash under father on it. So you could sue him for child support." "No, I don't. I don't want Emily to have a father like that and owe him. I realize I was young and stupid, and that my falling in love led to a mistake. But at least I have a daughter to raise on my own. I'll make sure she doesn't make the same mistakes I did." "What's your specialty?" "I'm a civil engineer. I raised the money for this trip by doing odd jobs. I've been doing estimates. There are a lot of customers, especially those who do not have their own estimators, and they themselves want to make some additions or repairs to their building. Then I helped them with acceptance of completed works, and I had a good job, but the firm I worked for went bankrupt. So in fact, today I am unemployed, but I'm optimistic about the future." "Let's drink to your optimism." In further conversation, it turned out that Masha's mother lives not in the district center, but in a village nearby, 5 kilometers away. Edward was appointed director of a branch in this district center. Masha said, "It's amazing how coincidental it is. We met here and both of us are actually from the same town. Nothing surprising, we just used the same tour operator." Soon the main courses ordered by Edward arrived. It was lobster. To cut them they served a special spit fork, tongs, fish fork. Masha asked, "How do you eat these?" "Masha, these are lobsters and they are already cut in half. First we eat the flesh from the body. Then we take the shell and pull out the meat with a fork. And then, with the help of special tongs, crush the legs of the lobster. There's some delicious meat in there that can be pulled out with a fork." "So, are the kids allowed to eat it?" "Of course they are. Look at them gobble it up. The only things you can't eat from a lobster are the nose and the whiskers because they can cause indigestion. Everything else in it is edible." In confidence, the kids were served lobster practically cut up. Its meat is very tender and low calorie, so it is suitable for both adults and children. The most delicious meat in the lobster is in the tail. And come on, it's best not to wait for the meat to cool down, as it gets a little rougher after that. I'll give it a try, but just a little bit. "Masha, the wine they brought us goes well with this appetizer. And don't think there's a lot of it. A cooked lobster with an average weight of 500 to 700 grams contains about 150 to 200 grams of meat. And I'll tell you this, it used to be considered the food of the poor. It would probably be easier to order mussels. Yes, it would be easier. But I don't recommend it for kids, and I'm wary of them myself. They do take some getting used to." They had a lovely evening and arrived at the hotel late in the evening. Edward reminded me, "Tomorrow we'll get up early and go to the aquarium." "Dad, what are we going to do there?" "What do you mean what?" "Chase sharks. There's a lot of them there." The next day, Edward got up early and invited Masha and her daughter to his room, where the table was set. Maya and Ben were already sitting at the table eating breakfast. Masha said, "Edward, you should have warned me. We have some supplies too, like candy and cookies, but you can't eat enough of those, and we have 2 buses to take, and we have to do it before the heat. So we don't argue, we eat quickly and get out." By 8 in the morning they were at the Oceanarium, or Aquario di Cattolica Park, which is very popular with children and adults. The pools and aquariums, being connected by special corridors, formed a harmonious ensemble. Actually, this is one of the most beautiful places in Italian Cattolica. The Aquario di Cattolica, La Navi Aquarium. Edward found out about it when he was preparing for his trip and included it in the must-see places with his kids. About 3,000 species of fish, as well as jellyfish and even dangerous sharks, were relocated here from the most diverse seas of our planet. In addition to sea creatures, there were also representatives of land, turtles, and penguins. All this was contained in more than 100 exhibition pools and aquariums. Entering the territory of the Oceanarium, they decided to take the very popular Blue Route. There they saw a baby hammerhead shark from the Florida coast. The baby shark was very impressive with its considerable size. Ben asked his father, "Dad, what do they feed them?" "Same as everywhere else. Tourists." "You mean like us?" "No, Ben, we're visitors and we have tickets. Besides, we didn't eat enough this morning. What kind of food are we?" "How they're fed, we'll see a little further on. But the usual food for them is pieces of fish, squid, moths, planktonic crustaceans, shrimp." After finishing the Blue Route, we went to the route marked with yellow color, where we looked and touched ancient ships, galleys, and many other things. Then there was a green route where there were chameleons, frogs, insects, snakes. At each aquarium they lingered for a long time, took photos against the background of inhabitants, watched their actions. They wandered for a very long time. And the real delight of the children was the aquarium, where they could touch the inhabitants. Here they stayed the longest and got a little wet. Finally, they went outside and realized that everyone was hungry. Edward suggested, Let's go outside the oceanarium. Here, if there is a food outlet, it will be more expensive. They were lucky in the sense that as they were walking around looking for a place to eat, they saw a bus going to Pesaro near the bus stop. They decided to go back, and then we'll eat there. In about 40 minutes, they were already sitting in a familiar cafe on the seafront, under an awning, sheltered from the scorching sun, and eating pasta with chicken parmesan. Classic Italian dishes. When we had lunch, we decided to go to the beach, although the sun was scorching mercilessly and siesta had started in the city. For a traveler, siesta is a whole disaster, bringing a lot of inconvenience, but it was useless to be annoyed and angry. We went into the hotel, took towels, and having met at the reception, went to the beach. There the children quickly undressed and threw themselves into the water. Edward and Masha, having collected their shoes, t-shirts and shorts, also undressed and went for a swim. They sat in the water for a long time. It was warmed by the sun in the shallows and cooler in the deeper places. Finally, Masha and Edward got out of the water, sat under an umbrella and watched the children, who were enthusiastically chasing small crabs in the shallow water. Masha asked Edward, "Edward, why are you alone without your wife on vacation?" "I'm not doing so well either. I found out by accident that my wife was cheating on me with her first boyfriend. He married her for position and money, and he set her up with me, and even enriched her by taking her to work for him. So what happens now? Nothing. I took everything I could and took it back to my parents. Then I went on vacation with the kids. So you still have a chance to make up." "No, that's not gonna happen." "What about the kids?" "The kids will be with me. In a divorce, the court usually favors the mother. I initially thought about divorce, but then consulted with a lawyer and decided that with this cannot be in a hurry, and on the contrary, to delay until the children are 14 years old. Then the children themselves can determine with which of the parents to live. So I am not planning a divorce yet, but I will not live with my wife. Can you cope with 2 children?" "So far, I'm coping. Actually, I know a man whose wife ran away and left him 2 girls. She came back 8 years later. The girls wouldn't let her in. They said, 'Sorry, Auntie, we have nothing to talk about.'" "Did she talk to her husband?" "No. He refused to discuss anything with her either. And they were divorced by this time. He had divorced her as a missing person. It's a longer procedure, but he did it all." "What if your wife files for divorce?" "Ben is 10 years old, and he has the right to express his opinion in court. It's taken into account in the judgment, but it's not determinative." "Then what are you gonna do about it?" "Nothing. I'll just hide the kids, and you won't be punished. There is a punishment, but not lethal. A fine, administrative arrest. The offense itself is expressed as intentional concealment of the children's whereabouts against their will." "But do the children want to communicate with her?" "But that's a long way off. Tell me, do you accept my offer to work at my branch?" "Yeah, I just need to figure out a place to live. I can't find a job in my neighborhood anyway. I don't want to lose my qualifications." "That's fine. I'll help you with accommodation. We'll put Katya in school. She'll be in the same class as Mia. The school's not far away. We're close to everything." The vacation was coming to an end, and after a farewell dinner in a cafe on the seashore, they returned to the hotel. And early in the morning they stood downstairs with their suitcases waiting for the minibus. The flight passed quietly. The children with pleasure looked at the clouds, spreading below under the wing of the airplane. 4 hours later they landed. They got to the train station and boarded the train. When they arrived home on Saturday, Edward took the children and went shopping with them, buying the things they needed for school. In the afternoon he called Viktor Viktorovich. They had a thorough conversation concerning the work of the branch and its priorities. The issue of providing the branch with specialists was raised. First of all, engineering and technical workers were required. It turned out that Viktor Viktorovich had already thought about it and bought several houses for the branch employees. He also told about Eva. She is upset, but she works where she was transferred. No complaints about her. Whether she's seeing Kevin is unknown. Kevin himself has disappeared from sight, and no one knows where he is. On Sunday, as Edward had arranged, he went to pick up Masha and Mia. He decided that he would put them in his parents' house on the second floor. His parents didn't mind. The kids were thrilled that Maya would be living with them, and they would all go to school together. On Monday, Masha was going to work, and so was Edward for that matter. The children still had 3 more days off and stayed home under the care of Edward's parents. Eva was completely unaware of where Edward and the children were. She went to work, and at the end of the day tried to find her husband. Closer to the 1st of September, she went to the school and learned that Edward had moved the children to a school in the neighborhood where his parents lived. I decided to go there on the first Friday of September. In the office, meanwhile, there was a lot of talk about Kevin's sudden dismissal and Eva's relocation. Many people were guessing what had happened and why the founder of the company had suddenly taken over as CEO, but they preferred to keep quiet. The time came and the office found out about the opening of the branch, and after a while they found out who became the director of the branch. Eva also found out about it. She waited until the first Friday in September, took a day off work at her own expense, and headed to the district center. She left in the dark and arrived very early, around 7 in the morning. Knowing the address where Edward's parents lived, she looked for the street and the house. At that time, Edward and his son Ben and daughter Mia came out of the gate. They were followed by a woman unknown to Eva with a girl of Mia's age. Eva took advantage of the fact that she was not seen and followed them. She soon realized that Edward and the strange woman had taken the children to school and had gone to work themselves. The branch was located in a rented building. After waiting for the workday to begin, Eva walked to the reception area. A young girl, a secretary, who was going through the papers in the reception area, asked on the selector, "Edward, you have a visitor. Will you accept?" "Of course, no problem. Let him come in." Eva entered the office. There at the desk, covered with papers, sat Edward. He raised his head, looked at Eva, and said, "Yes." "Hello, Edward." "Hello, Eva. Come in, have a seat. You have a nice office." "Thank you. But it's not my doing. Not yet. My assistant did all the work. I'm here to discuss what we're going to do next. Knowing you, I know it's impossible to keep this family together. But we have children, and we need to work this out. Eva, you realize I'm not giving you the kids, but I want to be a part of their upbringing, and I'd like to see them. The kids are at school now. Tomorrow I promised them a trip to the woods for mushrooms. Will that woman who went with you and the baby go with you?" "That's Masha and her daughter Katja." "Yes, they'll go too." "Is this your new woman?" "Call it whatever you want." "So you won't let me meet the kids?" "They study until 12 o'clock today. We'll go over to the school and you can talk to them. But in the future, I'll tell you what, give me advance notice, because the kids and I have plans too. All weekends, vacations are scheduled until summer. Although for the summer I have ideas how we will spend it. But this is a surprise for the kids. I remember you always like to surprise people. Tell me, where did you vacation?" "By the sea." "By the Black Sea?" "Not exactly. We vacationed on the Adriatic Sea, in Italy. I wanted to go there too. But you ruined it. Where did your lover go?" "I don't know. He was looking for a job and a place to live. I think he's settled somewhere. I don't know about the job. He complained that he couldn't get a job. I haven't seen him since that day. I can only advise you to go to a cafe now, to stay until 12. Eva agreed and checked Edward's phone number. To her surprise, he hadn't changed the number. He kept it the same. He said, "The phone was disconnected. I turned it back on recently." Eva left the office and, on Edward's advice, walked to the cafe. Edward called Masha and asked her to come over to his place. Masha came in and he told her what had happened and that Eva wanted to socialize with the kids. To this, Masha replied, It is stupid and unwise to forbid a mother to meet her children, and you have to be wise and offer her options on how to handle the situation. Masha, I know that, but I can't solve anything. Honestly, I didn't expect her to show up here. She saw you and me taking the kids to school. I don't see what the big deal is, so there's nothing you can do to help me. No, I don't want to help you. That's something you have to decide for yourself. I made up my mind a long time ago. The day I found out she cheated on me. There's nothing today to make me go back to her. And there won't be tomorrow either, because the deception lasted more than one day. I understand you. You still have time. Think. I won't hide. I'll go to the cafe and talk to her. I don't think that's necessary. And I think I can handle the situation on my own. But I don't want to look like some slutty woman who picked up a rich guy on vacation, and I care about you as much as I care about what we could have. Is that a declaration of love? You can't or won't do it. Although, it's usually the man who makes the first move. But I've already taken the first step. I'm with you. I know you are. But you're still dealing with the pain of the affair, and you'll be dealing with it for a long time. How long? I don't know. I guess the length of time it takes to get over it varies from person to person. 3 months, up to a year at the most. For women, it's a month, 2 months. It is during this period that a woman wants to return the relationship, longs for the love that has gone, for a change of life. This is if there was love. If there was no love, she longs for a change of life. Edward, as Eva had promised, showed up at the cafe, but he arrived there half an hour early and was surprised to see that Eva was sitting at a table and Masha was sitting across from her, talking about something. Eva had a tearful face. Edward sat down at the table next to them and asked, "Am I interrupting?" "No, Edward, you won't. We've already talked about it. I'll pick up the kids from school, take them home, feed them, and take them to the park. The weather's nice. Let them go for a walk. Eva will meet them there. While I go, Edward, you have lunch and talk to Eva." Masha got up and left. Edward inquired, "Well, what happened here?" "We talked to her. She told us how you met. She liked you and fell in love with you, and her daughter likes you. She told me what I knew. You're reliable. You're safe. You have confidence in the future. She talked me out of confronting you about the kids. She said it would only bring harm and explained clearly that I had little chance in this confrontation. Did you agree with her?" "Yes, I listened to her carefully, and she's right. Over the years, I've drifted away from the kids. I'm ashamed, but I've been spending more time with Kevin. I've been so drugged by him that I've put all the housework on you. I realize I can't handle the kids without your help, but I won't have your help. You'll never forgive me for my deception. It seems that Masha knows me better than I know myself. She has a really interesting daughter. She's friends with Mia." "Yeah, Masha told me." "What else did she tell you?" "Nothing much. Actually, we were talking about our women's things. Are you going to eat?" "No. Let's go to the park. We'll wait for them there." "Will they find us there?" "They will. I know where they'll come. We often walk there and feed the swans." They left the cafe and went to the park, where Edward showed them a bench where they walk and feed the swans. The swans appeared out of nowhere and stopped near the shore. "Have they not flown away yet?" "As you can see, not yet, but they will soon. They've already put their babies on the wing." "Tell me something. Why did you marry me?" "Edward, I'm sorry, but you were never the man of my dreams. I married you because Kevin insisted on it." "Why would he do that?" "Gloria, his wife, she's not stupid. She would have suspected he was cheating on her even then. So you were a convenient smokescreen." "And how did Kevin take it?" "He was jealous, but he couldn't do anything about it. And then when I got pregnant, he thought it was his. You were away for a while. Then a year and a half later, I got pregnant with Mia again. And it also happened that you were away on a business trip at the time. So he considered and still considers the children his. Gloria told me that he was incapable of having children. She told me the same thing. When I met with her when I was looking for you, and you don't believe her. Anything can happen in this life. Gloria may not be able to have children of her own. If I were you, I'd get a DNA paternity test. I did. What was the result? Who's the father? I don't know. What, the answers didn't come back? They did. What does it say? I have no idea. I haven't opened the envelopes and I won't. None of that matters to me. They're my kids. Yes, you gave birth to them, but I raised them, and I'm not giving them to anyone. And I'm not even gonna look at the tests. You're not interested. Absolutely not. Here come the kids with Masha. Is that Masha's daughter with Mia? Yes, that's Emily. As you can see, they're even the same height. And they're dressed alike. Their mom Masha dressed them like that. They call her mom. Yeah, sometimes it slips out. Emily calls me daddy. Masha and the kids walked over to the bench. Ben and Mia said hello to Eva and immediately ran with Emily to the water to feed the swans. Eva got up and joined them. Half an hour later, the feeding was over and everyone sat down on the bench. Eva tried to talk to the children, but they were somehow reluctant to talk to her. Masha said, "Edward, let them sit, and we will go and buy ice cream for the children." Edward and Masha left. They appeared half an hour later. A frustrated Eva was sitting on a bench while the children started some kind of game by the water. She said, "They're not making contact." You left, and they ran to the water. "Listen, Eva, in half an hour our car will go to the region. I told the driver. He will take you. Come as soon as you can. Maybe the children will thaw out." Eva stopped any struggle, but came regularly to meet the children. As Edward had predicted, the children gradually thawed and began to contact her. But they were still more attracted to Masha. Some time later, Edward and Eva divorced. She ceded the upbringing of the children to Edward and did not contest it in court. 6 months later, Masha and Edward married, and Edward adopted Emily.